Couple pulls in over 100 grand a year combined, no major debt, a government pension, and somehow their emergency fund keeps shrinking. The joint account has been overdrawn, and one partner is asking, why am I still always broke? This one hits close to home for a lot of couples. Hey Profiteer, Eric here. Welcome back to Real Money Stories. Today's episode comes from the personalfinance subreddit, and it's about one of the trickiest money topics a couple can face. Not investing, not debt. Combining finances with the person you love. This one comes from the personalfinance subreddit. The original poster is about to turn 40, recently got married, and is wrestling with how my money and your money become or money. Here's the situation. They've got a combined household income north of $100,000, a government pension, solid retirement savings, and almost no debt. But the emergency fund is bleeding out, the joint account has been overdrawn, and despite all that income, the original poster feels broke. Let me read it to you in their own words. A few years ago, I realized that despite my younger self's expectations, I was still alive and was likely to continue to live for a pretty long time. So I got serious about figuring out my finances and planning for the future. With a bit of work and luck, I got myself to a pretty stable place. And then, equally against expectations, I got married. We'll be celebrating that in about 2 months with friends and family. Yay! Since getting married, however, I realized that while I sort of had an idea of how to manage my own finances, I have no idea what to do about a family's finances. My spouse is somehow even worse with money. Here is where we stand currently. May soon to be 40 years old, making around $65K, small pay bump coming soon, stable government job with benefits, including a vested pension. Small amount of student loan debt that is about to be discharged, no other debt. Excellent credit. Her just turned 36 recently, making 50 to 60K in the service industry with no benefits. Has been unemployed, underemployed often in the past few years. All debts we are aware of are now settled. Bad credit. The cat, 4 years old, recently insured adorable, very small amount of savings, retirement savings 104Ks across my 457B and 2 personal IRAs, no matching from work. I save fairly aggressively for retirement at a rate of about 18% of my monthly gross income. Upcoming wedding, we have more than enough saved as of this month. Small ceremony, no honeymoon, just need to finalize and pay bills. Emergency fund not quite at 2 months worth of joint expenses and constantly shrinking. Health and car savings tapped out, hence why I keep having to dip into the E-fund. Down payment fund lol, are you kidding? It was put in the E-fund a year ago. Awkward family stuff, her parents are wealthy, mine are normal. We are the sole heirs of whatever they leave behind. We are legally married but have mostly separate finances. Honestly, have no idea how to even start combining them more. We deposit our portion of most shared bills and money for grocery supplies, the cat and fun into a joint account. I deposit at the start of the month. She deposits weekly as she gets paid. A few bills come out of my account because the joint account is unstable and has been overdrawn at least once. We maintain separate budgets for ourselves and our accounts. These accounts are not directly accessible by the other person. Her take-home pay is currently higher than mine, so she always has more fun money. She hasn't asked for money for a few months, but she hasn't paid back the E-fund yet either. When she was unemployed, this separate finances stuff was no big deal. Now, I'm wondering why I'm still always broke despite the household having a lot more money now. We're having our monthly budget meeting tomorrow. How can I start to get a handle on this? Any advice? Okay, first thing I want to say reading this, I love that this person took the time and laid everything out so clearly. You can feel the frustration, but there's no blame here, no finger pointing, just someone saying, we have more money coming in than ever, and I still feel like I'm drowning. What am I doing wrong? That's a brave question, especially when the answer involves another person you care about. I've been writing about personal finance for over a decade, and after covering hundreds of couples in similar spots, the pattern is almost always the same. It's not a math problem, it's a systems problem. The money exists. It's just flowing through a structure that wasn't designed for a partnership. So here's what I'd probably do in their shoes. I'll break this into a few frameworks that can work for any couple, not just this one. The first one I'd call the one roof, one budget principle. Right now, they're running a roommate system. Each person contributes a portion of shared bills, keeps the rest, and manages their own money independently. That works great for actual roommates. For a married couple, it creates exactly the dynamic that the original poster is describing: resentment, imbalance, and an emergency fund that nobody feels responsible for refilling. Here's why it breaks down. When you split by flat amounts or rough percentages, you ignore the reality that one person's income fluctuates wildly. The spouse has been in and out of work. Service industry income can swing month by month, so some months the joint account gets fully funded. Other months, it doesn't. And that instability is why it's been overdrawn. The fix is pretty straightforward. Treat all household income as household income. Both paychecks flow into one joint checking account. All bills, groceries, the cat's insurance, savings, everything gets paid from that one account first. Then, after all obligations are covered, each person gets an equal amount of personal spending money deposited into their own individual accounts. That personal money is theirs. No questions asked, no judgment. Want to blow it all on vintage vinyl or fancy coffee?
Go for it.
That's your money.
This is sometimes called the yours, mine, and ours method, but the key difference from what the original poster is doing now is the order of operations. Right now, money flows into individual accounts first, then the joint account gets the leftovers. Flip that. Joint account is the primary, personal accounts get the leftovers. The second framework is what I call fund the foundations first. The original poster listed their financial situation almost like a triage report, and honestly, it reads like one. Emergency fund shrinking, health and car savings tapped out, down payment fund absorbed, retirement savings strong but only from one person. Here's the priority stack I'd set up before that budget meeting tomorrow. Step 1, stop the bleeding on the emergency fund. The standard rule is 3 months of joint expenses as a minimum, 6 months as the real goal. They're not even at a pair of months yet. So before anything else, I'd figure out the household's actual monthly expenses. Rent, utilities, insurance, groceries, the cat, subscriptions, all of it. Multiply that by 3, that's the target. Every dollar that isn't covering a bill or going into personal spending should flow here until it hits that number. Step 2, rebuild the health and car savings. These aren't luxuries. An unexpected car, repair, or medical bill without a buffer is exactly what sends people into credit card debt. Even $100 a month into a separate savings account earns its keep. Step 3, and this is where I'd start the conversation gently, the spouse needs benefits. She's 36, working in the service industry with no health insurance, no retirement plan, nothing. If she can get on the original poster's government health plan, that alone could save them thousands a year. If she can't, they should look at marketplace coverage through the ACA. Personal finance should be fun, but an uninsured spouse is a financial emergency hiding in plain sight. But here's where it gets complicated. The original poster is saving 18% of gross income for retirement. That's aggressive. That's admirable. And right now, it might be too much. I know that sounds wrong. I'm the guy who says it always starts with the first dollar, and I believe that. But here's the thing. They're draining the emergency fund while maxing out retirement contributions. That's like putting premium gas in your car while the engine is leaking oil. The long-term investment doesn't help if a short-term crisis forces you into high-interest debt. I'd temporarily dial that 18% back, maybe down to 10 or 12% still saving, still building, but freeing up a few $100s a month and stabilizing the foundation. Once the emergency fund is at 3 months and the health and car accounts are refunded, crank it back up. The retirement accounts aren't going anywhere. The compound interest you miss over 6 months of reduced contributions is almost nothing compared to the cost of one medical bill on a credit card at 24% interest. Just a friendly reminder that this episode is intended for entertainment and education purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. Talk with a qualified financial advisor, ideally a fee-only fiduciary through something like XY Planning Network, about your specific situation. The third framework is what I'd call the equal partners, proportional contributions model. The original poster mentions that the spouse's take-home pay is currently higher, so she has more fun money. That bothers the original poster, and it should, because the current system creates an illusion. It looks like the spouse has more disposable income, but the original poster is carrying the entire retirement savings burden, the emergency fund, and the stability of the household. If they combine finances the way I described, the proportional approach handles this naturally. All income is pooled, all bills are paid, equal personal spending. Nobody has more fun money because the system doesn't care who earned what. You're a team, The goalkeeper and the striker both win the game. Now, I want to address the line in the post about her parents being wealthy and them being sole heirs. Forget it. I don't mean that harshly, but for budgeting purposes, an inheritance that hasn't happened yet is worth exactly $0. Plan as if it will never come. If it does someday, wonderful. But it should change absolutely nothing about how they manage money today. The fourth piece is the credit situation. That the original poster has excellent credit, the spouse has bad credit. As a married couple, this matters more than people think, especially if they ever want a home. Here's what I'd do. Get the spouse a secured credit card. One card, small limit, maybe $500. Use it for one recurring bill, like a streaming subscription. Set it on autopay for the full balance every month. Never carry a balance. That's the rule. Credit cards are tools, and the only rule is paying the full balance every single month, no exceptions. Within 12 months of on-time payments, that credit score will start climbing. After about a year and a half, they could qualify for a regular card or a joint mortgage. And about that down payment fund that got absorbed into the emergency fund, that was the right call at the time. You can't save for a house while your foundation is crumbling, but once the emergency fund is stable, start a separate savings account for the down payment. Even $200 a month? It won't buy a house next year, but it changes the psychology. You shift from, lol, are you kidding, into we're building towards something. That matters. So for tomorrow's budget meeting, here's what I'd bring. First, a list of every single household expense combined. Rent, utilities, insurance, groceries, subscriptions, the cat, everything. Get the real number. Second, a proposal. All income into one joint account. All bills paid from that account. Equal personal spending money. And a savings allocation that prioritizes the emergency fund until it hits 3 months. Third, a temporary retirement contribution reduction from 18% down to maybe 12% until the foundation is rebuilt. Fourth, get the spouse on health insurance this month. Fifth, open a secured card in her name and put one small bill on it. And here's something I want you doing if you're in a similar spot. Sit down with your partner this week and add up every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. Not your dollars, not their dollars, all of it. You might be shocked at how much money is actually flowing through your household. The Joneses probably have $10,000 in credit card debt. You don't have to be the Joneses. Find what works and repeat it. Find what doesn't work and don't do that again. The specific question here was about combining finances as a new-laid couple making over $115,000 a year with almost no debt. But the principle goes way beyond this one household. Money in a relationship isn't about who earns more or who's better with spreadsheets. It's about building a system where both people feel secure, both people have freedom, and the household moves forward as a unit. Whether you're making $40,000 or $400,000 combined, the architecture is the same. Pool the income, fund the priorities, give each person breathing room, and talk about it every single month. If you found this helpful, share it with someone dealing with the same thing. Until next time, stay profitable.